this election has just happened, and there is a revolutionary spirit coming to the people of America. And it's a revolution. Any great revolution really starts with Mississippi. They're just the strongest. They're the toughest. They're the most independent. And here we've got what we need to succeed from the Union and form our own country. This guy is, he's like a state house rep. And if you were to, I want you to, in your head, just picture a guy named Bubba. And that's what this guy looks like. He doesn't have his avatar, but like if you were to just picture a man named Bubba, his actual name is Price Wallace. And this is just, he's deleted it. But yeah, what I just feel like Mississippi gets a lot more from the United States of America than maybe we give them, or they give us, rather. And I say this as, I know I get on here and I'm always like, it's so funny, it's hypocritical. We will get on here and say, you've got to respect the South. There's human beings down here, and we all deserve respect and freedom, and we don't need to be talked down to. But really, that doesn't apply to every Southern state. Georgia looks down on
Mississippi doesn't need that. It could be,
What if there was a leftist Mississippi podcast and they were like, we're tired of being made fun of. We're tired of this.
They're doing the same thing that we're doing, but
yeah,
from
exactly.
Mississippi.
like Mississippi in like 2 or 3 years is going to be like, we need to fight back against all this Atlanta media coming down here talking about Mississippi ain't nothing. We got to get it together. Mississippi don't succeed from the Union or secede from the Union. First of all, your guy lost. It's actually okay.
It's actually okay.
It actually, our guy lost. We're still here. We're still vibing.
Everybody lost in 2020. The election of Joe Biden.
That is such a good point.
It's just a loss for everyone.
First of all, what's if you were to leave the Union? I mean, it's not going to make the virus go away, right? There's still a pandemic.
But the virus was invented by China, which is actually in California. See,
sure,
because the Earth is flat. Okay, so China. See, people think there's an ocean between China and California. That's
not
a lie.
True.
That's a lie. The globe heads tell you.
When they say globalists, this is what they mean. They mean people who change the locations of the map. If you guys understand that, like, Utah is actually very close to Jerusalem and that China is very close to California, now you're doing the business that you need to be doing, right? These globalists, they look at things like maps and they try to determine where things are. But it's all politics. It's all hype.
All politics. It's all politics.
Yeah.
Where things are is a political issue.
If you are strong-willed enough, you can just tell the virus, go away. You can put up your fist, you can beat the virus up, it'll go away.
Actually, you know what it is, Brandon? You know what it is that you could have in a red state just succeeded and all on its own. You could have the true guidance of Christ to get you through the virus.
I'm not sure. That Jesus would be specifically favorable to the folks in Mississippi. First of all, the only thing that's being asked here is to wear a piece of cloth on your face. And the Lord's true people, the Muslims, have been doing that for hundreds of years without complaints.
Whoa, buddy.
What? Yeah.
You think that's gonna convince the conservatives?
I don't think that's
referencing Muslim beliefs.
I don't know if that's gonna get things done.
I don't think that's gonna get the conservatives on your side. I'm just saying.
But also think about this when we talk about like succession, because it's not secession. Like everybody in Mississippi.
We talk about success.
Yeah. Everybody in Mississippi, like, I'm not even saying this to be mean, but like everybody's on Medicaid down there. Like, so many people in Mississippi are on Medicaid. And this is when we talk about politics, like, what do we all have in common? What can we all unite around? Well, all those people like need health care. They all need Medicare. They need Medicaid. They need like regular basic social services. And despite their need for social services and their voting for Republican policy, their needs do not go away just because y'all are mad about like we're a republic, not a democracy.
Listen up, sweaty. Mississippi needs Medicaid.
Yeah, yeah. And Mississippi is probably not going to get their own independent Medicaid system. And when you put healthcare in front of people, y'all, priorities change and people carve out little exceptions for themselves. They hate the libs, but they like having medicine. And I'll give you a place to look. Look at Kentucky, which is a place where they hate Obama's guts. And they have to come up with a new name for Obamacare in Kentucky, like so that people don't go to the doctor and like, is Obama here? Is he behind the curtain? Is he behind the door? What's going on? Like they called it Connect. Not like the Xbox Connect, but like KYNECT.
KYJRSNCHT.
Yeah. The healthcare plan in Kentucky was to replace medicine with Wheel of Fortune games, just because Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy were super popular over there.
Yeah, so you when you need healthcare, you spin this wheel, and it's like, oh, you get healthcare today because you got the healthcare pie square, or it's like, oh, you get half of a healthcare today. Sorry, or it's like, oh, no healthcare.
So let's. First of all,
I'll just... eight out of the 10 squares are no healthcare, by the way.
It's like Wheel of Fortune. It's like Wheel of Fortune, but basically every rung is bankrupt. It's just a big black thing, and there's like a couple of little slices. If you aim it right, you can get onto. But like, it's just something.
Like Comedy Bang Bang had this sketch where they had this wheel that had like 99 or 100 or some like individual little sections on the wheel, and almost all of them are spin again.
Oh no. Oh no. By like 4 spins you're just praying for sweet death. I love that as an idea. Listen, I just feel like it's a right. It shouldn't be a political thing. It should be something that everybody who's in the country can unite behind and work towards. And I'll tell you this, the people in Mississippi don't want a civil war. They may be like salty that their guy lost, but like, I don't know if any of the people that are involved in all this like Republican coup, the quote unquote coup drama, I don't know if they've ever like been to war. Are there any people in the Trump world and the Trump nexus now who are soldiers? Are there any people in the Trump world now who are, in the civilian leadership who have like seen the raw human suffering of war, like Stephen Miller,
I mean, he's
Ivanka, like these are not warriors. These are not
with like the Blackwater.
Well, sure, Eric Prince has seen some stuff, yeah, but like the majority of these people who are making the decisions are just absolute grifters. They're just hustlers, and
they make. You gotta stop. You're acting like people have to make these decisions out of any kind of like actual place of sanity. American leaders make decisions about war very willy-nilly all the time and have for a long time. That kind of behavior leads to further consequences in terms of like when you continue to make war feel less and less real or whatever, like then it just feels simple to just say, we'll just bomb some stuff in America after a certain point, because what's the big deal? Like we bomb stuff everywhere. And like, people are just kind of desensitized. And then it's not until that stuff actually starts happening that people will start to suddenly be like, oh, wow, bombs going off in my city is actually very uncool and not at all something that I would want to have happen to me.
I think, well, let's step back. Because everybody is not up to date on what's going on. And one of the reasons that people watch our ridiculous comedy show is so that they can get a little bit of news, like in the midst of all this.
Tiny bit.
So there's been complete turnover inside the inner sphere of Trump world.
Let's take it further back. All right. during the Bush administration, when they were passing shit like the Patriot Act, I don't know which bill it is, unfortunately, because I'm not a wonk, and I'm just a high guy rambling on YouTube. But they were passing like all these fucking bills to create the TSA, create the NSA, the passage of the Patriot Act, the authorization of military force, all that stuff, right? Was getting passed into the Bush era. A couple of those acts specifically added new provisions for forestalling the transfer of power or forestalling elections and things of that nature. And Bush threatened to do it both times that he was up for election. And to be clear, I mean, but when I say both times, what I actually mean, he did it. He threatened to do it both times that he was on his way out of office potentially. And that second time, he was not up for, he's already served 2 terms. He's not valid to be president anymore.
Correct.
And he hinted that if the war situation was bad enough,
Right.
that they might have to forestall the election or forestall the transfer of power until things were stable enough. And people did kind of freak out a little bit when they said this, but also people have fucking forgot that they said this. And so it's like, now I have to I'm telling people this like basic fact of history over and over again because people have forgotten that this happened. And this is their plan. Lindsey Graham a week ago said, if Trump concedes this election, our party is over. And he is at least somewhat right.
The party's over, but there's still money to make. And Trump can come back in 4 years and they can make over is different than over. Like America's been over for 30 years.
But specifically, he was saying that they would not hold power again. Yeah. That they would continue to lose power and that they would never hold as much power again, basically.
Let me give you an idea. Number one, do you think Donald Trump believes that? And if he does believe it, does he care?
It doesn't matter to Donald Trump at all, because the thing is that Donald Trump is this special actor that is like the potential dictator.
All right. Well, let me back up. Do you believe that whoever Trump would need to execute a violent overthrow, the Joint Chiefs or whoever you believe, do you believe that they believe that the Republican Party is over without Trump?
I don't know why the assumption is that it would be an extremely violent overthrow. Our country is a goddamn mess of fucking civility and liberalism. Like, this is going to get the most likely scenario of a coup in this country is not extreme violence. It is a slow burn of bizarre legal shit mixed with a little bit of violence, to back up the idea that like these guys will kill you if you just fuck around.
I just don't think that, number one, Trump's lawyers are the most incompetent lawyers that are left.
It doesn't matter though, because it's not about any kind of fair playing field anymore. It's about crafting reality and whose crafted reality is stronger.
Yeah.
This is like the nexus of like aesthetic politics and like civility and shit that we've been building towards these two parties. And right now we have both parties claiming different realities. It's not even just Trump. Mick Sally in Arizona says she didn't lose. Did you see that?
I know, but Martha McSally is a buffoon. And when we talk about, like, I respect your argument about, like, this is about media manipulation. It's about who's in the right positions, and it's about manipulating the narrative and stuff. And all that is true. All that's cool. But it's also about just the loss of power. When you get phone calls from two different people, which phone call are you going to listen to and why? Just my personal opinion is no one's going to listen to the call from Donald Trump. No one will.
But it's not coming from him. This is their apparatus.
And the apparatus doesn't like him or want him. I think the apparatus would rather have Biden.
An unlikable dictator is fine.
I know, but I will actually make that argument because you've talking to me personally about it's okay for a dictator to be just despised. So give that argument to the people so that they can hear it, and then I will give and we'll just do that.
Sure. So here's the thing. So like if Mitt Romney was the president right now, and the Republicans were in the same situation where Mitt Romney had just lost his incumbency election, okay, And the Republicans are looking down the barrel of a gun of our party may never hold major power again. We may just lose power from here until it's over for us, basically.
Mhm.
If you were in that situation, you're Mitt Romney, right? And the powers that be say, hey, we've been preparing to pull this coup the government lever for decades. And again, some of these people are old enough. This is
Those
one of the
people
reasons.
work for the Lincoln Project now. They hate Trump.
Not a lot of them. There's plenty of them that are still within the scope of this power. It doesn't matter that some of the exact Bush cabinet admins are out of the picture now. But the point is, okay, so if Mitt Romney, if they're saying, hey, we've got the lever ready to pull on this coup and make you a dictator, Mitt, is he gonna do it? Fuck no, because he's a nerd. He's a fucking he's just a dork who would not want to deal with the extreme pressure that comes with being a dictator, which includes just people just hurling shit at you all day, treating you like fucking garbage and just yelling at you, just being mad at you all the fucking time. Like, that's being a dictator.
Being a dictator is not a fun job.
Yeah, and Donald Trump, he loves to fire people.
Yeah.
Like, he loves just being mired in the shit. Somebody just screaming and crying and telling him he's a bad person, he gets off on that.
Yeah.
So he's a perfect candidate for like the puppet dictator.
What I will say is that the PTB that you're vaguely talking about, the military industrial project, I think that they want sustainability, and I think that the kind of thing that you're thinking about, getting behind Trump, they won't be able to step foot inside a city. Like, they couldn't, like, that project literally could not hold any American city because there's too many people just from the hood who would just not tolerate it. And I think that if you're talking about a confrontation, I know that we all think Biden is a brain dead, like, civility lib. However, Joe Biden, the #1 foreign policy guy in the Democratic Party, he's been doing nothing but coups, but overthrows of government. If you guys all want to be catastrophic about the American empire and the military industrial complex and the swath of destruction, and Joe Biden is responsible for this swath of destruction, either he is responsible and knows those people or he doesn't. And I'll just say, like, if you're a MIC person, do you choose to take orders from Donald Trump? Do you put your life on the line because power is that important to you? Or do you take Biden, who's going to give you like 80% of what you want anyway, and he's going to give you the funding, he's going to be nice, he's going to treat you seriously and with respect? Donald Trump, he's got no respect for you. You're not going to have fun working for him. He treats everybody who works for him like garbage. There's literally nobody that he treats loyalty. Now, there's cops. There's plenty of cops that will do it. But I just don't think that the actual military will do it. And I also think the cops, they're getting soup cans thrown at them and they're weeping. Just the military industrial complex, the CIA, all that entire apparatus, I think it's going to be strongly behind, if that kind of thing were to happen, it'd be strongly behind Joe
Biden. I'll make a couple of arguments.
Yeah.
First of all, I would say that although I agree with you that the cops are crying when they get soup cans thrown at them, the frontline protester is not the average American. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's also not a United States Marine either. But anyway, go ahead.
No, he's not.
No, it's not.
I don't know whose argument that helps, but he's definitely not.
Yeah, I know. I don't know whose argument
that could go either way.
That could go either way.
But like, I want to give full credit because I want to be clear about what I'm trying to say, because I want to basically talk about the softness of Americans, and I want to be clear. I'm not talking about the people that are on the front lines of these protests right now. I'm not even talking about the reserves, the people that aren't necessarily on the front lines of the protests, but that are sending bail money and would definitely go out there if things were really, really bad. You know what I mean? They're just they got a family and they can't do that much, and they're maybe not making it to that many protests, but they send bail money and they do other supporter. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about either of those kind of levels, any of those kind of levels of people.
Right.
But that's still not the average. Even if we total all those people, that's not the average American, right? Like that's maybe 10 to 20% of Americans are like, at most are like very like militant,
aware,
progressive,
sure.
aware, woke, whatever kind of, I don't know. And so outside of that, most Americans are pretty fucking soft too. And that's one of the reasons why I don't necessarily think that like the amount of resistance that we would see to a coup would be as significant. Not a two-door, but
I know there are a lot of people
the government.
There are a lot of people who aren't into politics but own weapons, and I think if Trump and don't like Trump, and if Trump was on the news with like guys on their block, they would be like, no, like, and those people would be. We're on TV. They'd be asked to leave very firmly.
I still think no, but the people you're talking about though, like the guys with guns who are waiting for the government to go wrong, those people are Trump supporters.
No, I'm not talking about Wyoming. I'm talking about Atlanta.
Well, sure, but that's okay. So when we talked about this scenario the other day, I was really clear. I was really clear that if the Republicans try to grab power in this way, the country will most likely go, in my opinion, into like a cold civil war, where Trump is in the White House. Around half of the country geographically, not population-wise, but geographically, is listening to him.
Yeah.
Ironically, most of DC right around him is not, and there's probably some kind of fucking DMZ around the goddamn White House. Like, not even kidding. This is what it would be like. Now, this is not necessarily the most likely scenario. Again,
right. We're just thinking. We're just thinking.
And then Joe Biden would be, I don't know, let's just say San Francisco. Some major
Frisco Joe,
right? Like I'm just making it up. Just like he would be in some major blue Boston, right? Somewhere. Boston's actually more likely.
Actually, Philly probably is most likely.
Philly,
because it's the historical capital. Like we're making science fiction now, but it's the historical capital, and it's a place where he'd be well, etc.
And so he would set up a temporary capital somewhere, is what he would call it initially. Or something like that, and he would start like and there would be a back and forth of the power, and so basically every major city in America would be rejecting Trump and listening to whatever Joe Biden says.
Yeah, I feel like that when in that scenario, when Joe Biden, and this is very early on, because whether there's going to be a peaceful transfer or not, like a couple months in advance, but Joe gets in there, he gets sworn in, and then he gets a call. I mean, he makes a phone call, then he just says, do it, and then it's over.
Okay, but here's the problem. So you said the military-industrial complex wants something sustainable. I would agree with you, but they can't have anything sustainable, and I think they know this. Because what does the military-industrial complex ultimately rely upon more than anything? It relies upon oil and rare earth minerals. It relies upon these things that you can't just keep finding new sources of this shit forever. Eventually you run the fuck out. Okay. So like, there's not just going to be like another war to declare that's as rich as like what we've plundered from Afghanistan, which is, by the way, why we're still there. For anyone watching who is not aware of like why we're still the fucking Afghanistan, even though it seems like we shouldn't be at war with them at all, or in a war there at all, or whatever exactly you want to call it. It's because there's fucking tons of rare earth metals there. All right. Well, there's not another fucking Afghanistan just sitting around waiting to be plundered in that same way. There are some places that can be plundered, but like the list is getting shorter, and as the list gets shorter, the number of remaining options also get lower in the amount of resources that you get from them. The military-industrial complex itself is not sustainable, and I don't believe that the people at the top of the military-industrial complex are stupid enough to think that it is infinitely sustainable. I think that they know what the climate scientists say. They know what people are saying about the future of oil, and that they know that like there is a limit to what they can have, and that they might be willing to just grab power on that basis and just say, fuck it, we're just going to run with it from here and see what we can get.
Do you think the majority of people in that sphere believe that and are ready to take orders from Donald Trump?
Because I think a ton of, to be clear, I think a lot of like lower level soldiers would desert.
Oh
in
yeah,
a situation like that. Tons.
Yeah.
Like maybe 70% or something crazy. Even
Yeah.
like maybe that high. Probably not that high, but
I think maybe that high. Well,
but
just depends
it
on
could
where
be
the money's coming from
it
and
could be
stuff.
really high. But the leadership of the military, they're gonna go along. That's my opinion.
Kennedy, here's what we should do. Let's
They're
take a break.
anti-democracy.
Let's take a break. Let's quickly wrap this conversation.
Sure.
And then we can talk just about other things that are going on. There's some interesting corruption in New Jersey. We've obviously got the Georgia runoff. I'm in Georgia ground zero. There's just a lot to cover. But before Flow Girl leaves, would they have to self-fund? Well,
Money's
I think
made up.
Yeah, money's not real. I think Biden and Trump would both have infinite amounts of money because it's not real.
Yeah.
If Biden, first of all, I would. In fact, we'll start with this question after the break. We'll be back. You get a call, Kennedy. It's at 1:00 in the morning, and you pick it up, and the secretary says, "Please hold for the president-elect of the United States." It's a few days before the inauguration. Joe picks up the phone. You're like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "Hey, Kennedy. I know I watch your show. I know you don't like me, but listen, we're gonna have."
I knew he was a viewer.
Of course. He says, listen, there's going to be, I don't think it's going to be World War III or anything, but there's going to be some intense civil conflict just in the next few months. This Trump guy, just between you and me, he's bonkers. He's out of his mind. He's not going to let go. I need your posting abilities.
Yes, Joe.
You know, I'm not a good poster. I mean, you've seen my Twitter feed. It's not great.
Very bad.
It's really bad. So I just need your media abilities. And the money is going to be a little sticky once this thing happens. But once it's all over, this thing with Trump, you're gonna get a gold boat. We're gonna pay for the ranch. You know, I've got your phone taps right, yeah. But we're gonna get all your stuff covered. You will get an IOU from the legitimate president. This is cool with you, right? You'll take my IOU.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are we worried about?
And I don't even like Joe, and I would just take that offer.
In a confrontation between, well, first of all, you're taking the chance at money, basically. Like that's just on a business level, but just on a confrontation level, Biden or Trump, Trump has never won anything legitimately in his life. I don't know if I would put are there rational people who would risk their lives in the Game of Thrones for Donald Trump? I don't think so.
But there's plenty of irrational people that would, and we already know that.
I don't think there's enough of them, bro.
You don't
you have a point.
That many, you don't
I know,
need that many brown shirts, like absolute loyalists to, like, I mean, he's already got his loyal bodyguards in the White House. That's something he did from day one. Like classic dictator behavior.
All right. Well, listen, I don't really have anything else.
Okay, wait. I got one for you, Brandon.
Okay.
Imagine it's 1 a.m. You get a phone call. It's President-elect Joe Jorgensen on the phone.
I say, can you get me to Vermin Supreme? Do you have Vermin's number?
I mean, we should have Vermin back on the show. Is what we should just do that. That's
I've wanted to do What Happened with Vermin Supreme since we all got together and watched the Libertarian.
I made that meme, remember?
Yeah, I told you to make the meme. Like literally, I was like, Kennedy, here's what the meme is gonna have.
Vermin was so good. That was one of the best interviews. I really wish he had won the Libertarian Party nomination.
Would have been a much more interesting few months, especially because imagine this. The election happens. Vermin is the spoiler that delivers both Nevada and Michigan to the Democratic Party. And Vermin Supreme becomes one of history's pivotal political figures.
Political clout gods.
Yeah, and Jo Jorgensen, she can't make anything out of this. Like, she's just gonna go back home. Like, just from a posting perspective, she's not a poster. They did like the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure meme, and she doesn't know what JoJo
Imagine
is.
if Vermin Supreme got the nomination, and then in one of those states that splits up the electoral votes, he got one electoral vote.
Ooh.
And caused Donald Trump to lose the election at once.
That just sounds incredible. Okay. So I feel like we've nailed down this entire thing with the quote civil unquote war, all that stuff. Can we talk about some local stuff, just some stuff that's from a totally different world?
Yeah, of course.
Because honestly, like, we have very little control over Joe Biden's terrible cabinet appointments.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll come back to just talking about that. But we do have a little control over what happens on our state level, on our city level. And one thing to think about and talk about is New Jersey. We had Zena Spizakis on the show. And we talked about New Jersey just being a horrible, corrupt state. And although Hector Oseguera has never been on our show, we're in DM groups with Hector. We've talked to Hector pretty regularly. And one of the things that he complains about, just as a New Jersey politician, activist, anti-corruption specialist, whatever, is that there's something called county lines in New Jersey. And basically, instead of you being able to vote traditionally, like, here are the presidential candidates, here are the Senate candidates, here are the House candidates, here are the resolutions, like normal stuff. They have these really bizarre suggested vertical lines for who to vote for. Mm-hmm. And it creates like clear internal bias or whatever. It's not grouped by office. And I'm going to show y'all like one of these ballots. And you can see like how ridiculous this kind of structure is. Okay. A vote for president is vote for all delegates and things like this. So here are Biden and his delegates. Here are Bernie and his delegates. But there's also this column thing. So if you're voting for Biden, then the party's preferred candidates are here and here and here. And if you're voting for Sanders, there's no preferred candidate. And if you're voting for Ham or Oseguera, they're not under Sanders to make it feel like there's some sort of down ticket effect. But it's one pack of weirdos. And this is why they've got not me, us here in the damn logo,
Yeah.
Whereas here it's got the Hudson County Democratic Organization, and they've got Biden, Booker, Sires, and this other guy. And anybody can understand that the vast majority of voters are just like, I don't know what's happening here. I see Biden, chick, 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 chick. It's just...
It doesn't even... I mean, even if you wanted to, like, make slight sense of it, like, then Ham and Oseguera should be under Bernie Sanders.
So clearly.
If you just want to check all the libs, you check
right.
Biden and everybody under that. Or if you want all the progressives, you check Sanders and everybody under that. Like, this fact, the way it's broken up with Sanders in a completely different column, like, what the fuck is that even supposed to? This is obvious nonsense.
It's obvious goofball stuff, which is why our friend of the show, Zena Spizakis, is starting this. It's called the Fair Ballot Project. And like, if anybody knows New Jersey politics, like, it's just the dirtiest, it's the most corrupt. It's just the worst place in politically just in the country, with a couple of exceptions that are even worse. But and basically this is like, listen, step one is to have regular ballot design that's not designed by the party politics and the party machine. So Zena's got this thing, and this is like a step one to just ask people to make the ballots less confusing so that they can hashtag abolish the line NJ. And I think that is super, super cool. Kennedy, what are the politics like in terms of your state party?
I don't know too much about what the state party's been up to in particular. I can tell you that the state party's like inner machinations that forced people out of the Senate race so that Ben Ray Lujan could be the chosen candidate for our Senate race have kind of fucked us over, because when Tom Udall flipped that Senate seat, he flipped it by a massive margin, and it has been a very safe district, for his reelection. Ben Ray Lujan squeaked out a rather pathetic victory for that, to keep that Senate seat, and it's because the party fucking demoralized everybody by clearly rigging the Senate primary. And rigging it not in the way of like, oh, your votes weren't counted or something like that, but just literally forcing everybody else out of the race that was like a serious candidate at all. There were like a couple of other serious candidates, one of which in particular was like a very progressive woman that I was very excited to potentially support. And I didn't even want to hardly say her name now, because like I have mixed feelings about her, because she just kind of like kowtowed to the fucking party lines, and so who knows?
Not your friend Valerie Plame.
No.
We should have got Valerie Plame on the show, honestly.
Valerie should have been actually, she was running for the Congress seat though.
I know, I know. But she's still just so interesting. And also, no home grow for recreational marijuana. Big marijuana rules the roost there too. Next time that you come on the show, Kennedy, I'm going to be like, ladies and gentlemen, Kennedy, big marijuana Cooper. That's funny.
I'm gonna change my name on Twitter.
Oh God.
Except I shouldn't use marijuana.
No, because
I don't want to get canceled.
Valerie Plame. An interesting case. Before we talk about Georgia, Valerie Plame's an interesting case, right? Like, what? Because she lives in your state now.
She does.
And people have probably not heard that name since the Bush administration.
Yeah.
So, what's the deal with Valerie Plame? I'm just so interested in Valerie.
Sure, let's have 5 minutes of Valerie Plame talk, because I love this. Honestly, we should still have her on the show just to like.
Let's get her. Just why not?
So Valerie Plame was famous for something called the Plame Affair, because it's just about her family. Where I forget who it was. Was it Scooter or Scooter Libby? I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Damn, I can't believe I actually got that right. Scooter Libby was
we
mad.
Watched too much news, buddy.
I know. We've got Twitter brain. Scooter Libby was mad at Valerie Plame, and so he outed her and her husband as CIA agents.
Mm-hmm.
In like a very like way that could have like literally endangered their lives kind of way, and so it was like a big scandal, because like they were very upset and they didn't get a lot of real significant recourse, although some things did happen, but it was just like a long drawn out process that didn't lead to much. And ultimately Valerie Plame decided to move to New Mexico, where things are sleepy and quiet and not a lot happens. And has lived here for a long time since then, like 14 years or something. So it's not like she just showed up here and ran for Congress like the way some people do.
Do you guys feel like if she could fly a jet, she'd already be a United States senator?
She was just running for Congress. I mean, she didn't even go for Senate, and she still did not manage to win the primary. She did not actually even perform particularly well.
No.
She performed about the same as like the very radical progressive candidate, as I recall. Like it was like they both had about like 10%-ish.
Yeah,
and, like
you can't just have name recognition. You've got to have an organization. You've got to push your dues in.
She doesn't really have that much name recognition. I think she overestimated how much name recognition she had.
That is
Um,
possible because like she's a story that's really like it's a news nerd story from a decade ago. During a time when like the news is happening every week in new ways, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also, I mean, just when you also think about like this is a state level position, your name recognition on a national level isn't necessarily as important as it is where you are. I mean, Cenk Uygur really proved this, right? Like
Yeah.
he's got as much national recognition practically as a person could have, but people didn't like him where he was or know him where he was. And so I think Valerie Plame kind of had that problem where it was like, Teresa Fernandez Ledger might not be a name that everybody out there knows or has heard before, but people here in the state know who she is as a politics person. You know what I mean? Like she has more name recognition. Honestly, if you were to just walk around the streets here, most people would say they didn't know who either of these people were, probably. But if you ask people to like recognize these two people and recognize a few, like name a few like facts about them, the average New Mexican is going to be a little bit more likely to know who Teresa Fernandez is and know like a fact about her than to like actually remember who Valerie Plame is and remember anything about her other than something Bush administration.
Yeah. Cenk Uygur, before we get to Georgia, that guy was just the complete wrong match for that district. If we were in New York or something and Cenk was running for a certain like part of New York or Florida, somewhere that was maybe more urban, younger, more pissed off, um, you could see Cenk. I mean, he's a business person. He could start some sort of organization, but see, that district is like a suburban lib wine mom district. It's like a Hillary Clinton sort of district, and Cenk was just decidedly not the right person for it. And I've always said if they just wanted to run someone in the Young Turks, that Anna would have been a mildly better choice than Cenk. Well, you couldn't do worse than Cenk did, unless you're like Cenk for Congress. It's just there's only so much you can do. Meanwhile, Georgia, which is my state and where the whole focus of the country is, they're going to have a hand recount. And I just, first of all, we're outside of the usual range of recounts because, we had our celebration for Joe. Not really a celebration for Joe, but a celebration of Trump losing like last week. Like
Yeah.
this is like more votes are coming in, and the election was not a super close election. Like he won. And there's like big margins in Georgia, big margins in Nevada. There's just big margins everywhere. So they're going to do a hand recount, a full recount of the entire state. It's going to be our Secretary of State is a guy named Brad Raffensperger, and he's just a venal Republican scumbag. And so it's going to be an audit and a recount and a recanvass, and it's going to just cost a lot of money and suck. There's no automatic recount clause in Georgia like there is in Wisconsin, and I think there's one in Florida, but I'm not sure. But he's just been getting beaten up by Georgia conservatives because they don't feel like he's loyal enough to the president and is starting to move on. So he's got to do something for the base. And the base is like, we need you to stop this. So what can he do? Well, recount is something that's within his power. So it's just going to be a total mess. It's going to take forever. It's going to be expensive on the taxpayers and things like that. And by the way, Kennedy, you've seen recounts of elections before, right?
Yeah.
How many votes change in a recount, really?
A lot of times it's like 4 or something stupid.
Yeah.
Like it's literally like I've seen recounts. They did a recount here for the 2018 one of the congressional races. And it was like, yes, a few votes were off, but it was like literally like under 12.
He's down 15,000. So
Yeah.
Trump's got to find 15,000 votes in this recount. And one of the closest elections I remember was Al Franken for United States Senate, and they had a recount there.
Ugh.
And I think
you're supposed to censor his name. You're not supposed to. So,
Oh, I forgot that Franklin's your favorite political figure. But either way, the actual election was like the actual margin that changed was like 300 or 400. Like it was incredibly close, and it's just ridiculous. It's just not going to happen. So
this is actually a good conspiracy that people should talk about more. Just for the record.
You want to talk about it?
Not necessarily today, because we've already gone on.
There's a lot of weird.
This is the whole thing that I would have to like get into, but yeah, you know. By the way, we should get Teresa Fernandez on the show probably, especially now.
Well, I don't have Teresa Fernandez's number, but I just assume that she'll come if you call.
I figure we could probably ask her very nicely, and she would consider it.
That's what we should do.
She's cool. I mean, that's the thing. I will say, as many elections didn't go right here, ultimately that congressional seat we got a big step up because Ben Ray Lujan was a shitty congressman, and Teresa, she's like low-level squad tier. She's Medicare for all, ranked choice voting, Green New Deal. Like she's in favor of a lot of really good stuff. So, you know, she's anti-fracking. She wants us to get away from fracking. Like, she's like, you know, she's actually talked about things that matter here in our state. So, yeah.
I love that. Can cannabis cause schizophrenia? Man, anything can cause anything depending on what you're smoking.
We're not doctors, you know?
Yeah, we're not doctors. You should listen. If you are on Twitch and you're watching this stream and you feel like you're turning into a parrot or something like that, a pigeon, you're transforming into a pigeon and you're worried, have I smoked too much? You should definitely get outside help. We're probably not the ones that are going to help you with that. Yeah, it's a mess. They've got to get it together. Kennedy.
Yeah.
It's been a long road.
Yeah.
It's been a good road. And I feel like we're at the end of the road. Is there anything else that crosses your mind right now?
No.
Here's what you got.
Let every state find success from the union.
Let every state heal itself with cocaine. Let every state heal itself with cannabis. Let every state find a way. Because listen,
I have a medical cocaine card now.
Listen, like we're not gonna get a lot of this stuff that we're hanging on for. So by all means, celebrate with your friends, just the companionship and all that good stuff. Listen, we're on YouTube and we have analytics. We know most of y'all are hanging out and watching us on Twitch. You Twitch freaks, get off the channel. Go to YouTube and thumbs up our video, and maybe leave a comment. Like this would be a good YouTube channel comment. Scottsdale, I just get paranoid when I smoke. I quit, but I still feel like this. Is it normal? Please help. Let's see. Why don't you take a whole? How much time are you taking off, Scottsdale? Like if you say I quit and you quit for like a week, and you've still got issues, then that's you haven't quit long enough. Quit for a month.
What I'm going to say. I'm going to try to word this as carefully as I can. You may have some kind of untreated anxiety type disorder, and you may want to seek help for it. Speaking from personal experience. That's from me to you. Everybody,
if you stop smoking, if you've spent the last 5 months sober, this 2020, maybe you should just reverse that strategy. maybe you're not. We thought you were too high. Maybe you're not high enough. Patreon.com/notsafe. You can also visit us on YouTube. I'm not sure what this emote is, but I'm sure it's disapproving because I see the Twitch in the avatar. Nothing that we do here is legal or medical advice. None of this is political advice. Nothing that we do should be listened to in any form, except
at patreon.com.
That's right. That's when we hide the real good advice.
Goodbye. Bye.
Stay sane. Watch this show.
Yeah.
Don't flip out.